Good morning and welcome to the Avenue Uniting Church in Blackburn, Victoria, meeting on Wurundjeri country. I'm Rod Peppiatt, the Minister of the Word. We today move further into the season of Advent, the season leading us into Christmas. And we tell our stories that help us to prepare for the coming of Jesus, or for our celebration of the coming of Jesus into the world. The theme for the second Sunday of Advent today is peace. I want to read to you firstly from the words of Mark's Gospel, the proclamation of John the Baptist. And I apologise, I'm getting a little bit breathy because I've not long had COVID, so hopefully we're all good. Reading from Mark's Gospel, chapter 1. The beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. As it is written in the prophet Isaiah, "See, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way. The voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord." In churches, part of the point of Advent is to prepare us to celebrate again the coming of Jesus, the birth of Jesus of Nazareth all those years ago, and to spend time reflecting on why that's important. And during Advent there are themes for each of the 4 weeks: hope, peace, joy and love, which help us to do that. Today, as I mentioned, the theme is peace. How do we speak of peace? That's only half the question. Or at least it's only half the question I've been asking myself these last few weeks as I thought about today in church and the theme of peace. I say half the question. The rest of it has been this: how do we speak of peace without it sounding like a sick joke? That brings the mood down, doesn't it? But if my witness to the word isn't honest, it has nothing to offer. So here goes. I'm finding it really hard to look around the world this year and to think about peace. In one sense, I'm not sure why that is, because not that much has changed. We've been praying for peace in the birthplace of Jesus for my whole life and longer. There were all those years we prayed for peace in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. And with people from South Sudan and Congo and Ethiopia, I've prayed for peace in their homelands. I know that many of you have lived through war and prayed and worked for peace. It's not new. Jesus was born in occupied territory under the heel of empire. At that time, the empire happened to be Rome, but there have been many others before and since. These last few years, we've been deeply affected by the Russian attack on Ukraine and the war that's followed. And then a couple of months ago by the Hamas attack on Israel. And I think that's the situation that has affected me most deeply. And I'm slowly working out why. It's because the world is being told that we are on one side or another, with disregard for the incredible complexity of the situation there, or of the humanity involved. Let me say straight out, I utterly condemn the illegal Hamas attacks on Israel in October. At the same time, I also condemn the illegal Israeli settlements in Gaza and the West Bank, and the brutal way in which Israel has treated the Palestinian people in these enclaves. As someone from the other side of the world who lives in a state of relative peace, I can't say I understand Hamas or the militant Palestinians. I cannot walk in their shoes. I can't begin to comprehend that. Nor can I comprehend the fear so prevalent in Israel and the centuries or the generations of suspicion. I cannot comprehend that. But I do know there's more to it than simple terrorism. There's more to it than simply Israel's right to defend itself. I know it's more about politics than religion. It made great sense to me recently when I heard US Senator Bernie Sanders, who is Jewish and whose family suffered under Hitler, say that it's not anti-Semitic to criticise the secular right-wing state of Israel. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this recently. Thinking about how I, as someone with no skin in the game other than my shared humanity, about how I, as a follower of the way of Jesus, can possibly respond in a way which is more than glib or trite. How do we speak of peace? And it may be that in the big scheme of things, my words are trite. Certainly no one over there would care what I think. But I have to do something. And I don't have clear or clever answers. But I have a couple of thoughts which I dare to hope may be helpful, may even be spirit-led. Firstly, one that was prompted in the last couple of days by seeing this image. I hope you see it clearly. It's from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Bethlehem. And they have very deliberately created a nativity out of rubble. People can light the candles that surround Nativity as a prayer for light in the darkness of this crisis. Bethlehem is not in Gaza, but by paying attention to their shared humanity rather than ignoring it, this church and its people say a whole lot about the way of Jesus. The second thought has to do with an anniversary. Today marks the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on the 10th of December 1948. I've been thinking about the impact of this on the world, coming as it did just after the horrors of the Second World War. And coming as it did, perhaps coincidentally, I don't know, the same year that the modern state of Israel was founded or declared. I wonder what the Declaration of Human Rights changed. I can't know. It predates me by a number of years. I wonder for whom it has changed life and how. I wonder if it has empowered peacemaking in the world. I believe it has. I hope so. I wonder too who and what has pushed back against such a declaration and why. I wonder why Australia doesn't have such a declaration for itself and what would change here if we did. Again, perhaps more questions than answered. But my thinking led me to one very clear thought about rights, peace, and Jesus. People ask, partly as a promotional campaign some years ago, what would Jesus do? And I actually think that's a bit speculative for me. I think it's better to start with what did Jesus do, based on the stories told of him. And here we have a clear answer. For Jesus, people had a right to be treated as human beings and regarded as valuable in their own right. We see this in nearly all his dealings with the Gospels, in the Gospels with people, and in the people among whom he lived. We see it in the way he challenged and confronted people and institutions and indeed an empire when they dehumanized people, particularly when it was done in the name of God. A few weeks ago, the day after the referendum, I said these words in relation to the fractured state of our nation, Australia. Blessed are the peacemakers. We're going to need them, and we're going to need to be them. I hold those words up again today to myself and to you. They're true for all who follow the way of Jesus, where we are and however we can. There is so much we can't fix, just as there was for Jesus. His way was to attend to what he could do rather than be overwhelmed by what he couldn't, and to find the Spirit of God there. I hold up other words too. Words we find in John's Gospel as part of his resurrection stories, when the risen Christ appeared to bewildered and frightened disciples. Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. There, today, is how I dare to speak of peace. There, today, I find my inspiration, and perhaps you might too. May it be so. Amen. Blessings.